Oh, good day everyone, and welcome to the final edition of the weekend wrap for 2025. It's been a long season, some ups and downs, highs and lows, but here we are in the last day of spring before summer, although you wouldn't know it, and plenty to talk about to wrap up the season. So, without any further ado, let's crack straight in, shall we? Hello, hello, Big Man and Macca, how are we?
Good, thank you. Oh, not quite so good. I had a bit of an operation on the scon, but a bit of a cancer there, but all out. So
Oh, that's good, mate.
just carry on.
Well, it's not good that you had a cancer in the scon, but good that you
No,
got it sorted.
spent my life as a kid out in the sun, unprotected back in those days, mate, and pay the price for it now. This is my third bout with cancer, so we just keep fighting.
Yeah, I know what that's like, mate. We grew up around similar time, and back then we were putting fucking coconut oil on our skin to get a better tan. Remember what was that called, Latan or something or other?
No, it was coconut oil.
Yeah,
I can't remember the name of it, but it was a brand that everybody had to buy. And like idiots, we bought it.
yeah, we did, and just. Bit of a nightmare. Look, thanks to everyone who's joined us on Discord and YouTube. I haven't got the chats working tonight for some reason. They gimped out on me last week or last time, and I haven't been able to fix it. So we won't have chat running on the screen, but I will be watching the chats as we go along. So if you have got something to say, please feel free to do so, and I will be watching them on the relative platforms, and will answer you when I can. All right, so we have a little bit to talk about. Of course, we had the draft occur following our last chat, and it was pretty uneventful. We tried to make it eventful, but it didn't really happen. Mako, what did you think about the way it all panned out?
Yeah, we're talking about the fact that we were after Sharp, and he really would have been ideal at the ideal pick for what we needed. Big-bodied mid, very talented man, a leader. He's everything we needed. I just think if we made a blue, we didn't go in hard enough to get that pick in the first place. We tried to get it on the actual night of the draft, but Essendon had it, and they had that one reserved for Sharp, and they weren't going to give it. And then apparently we made some very, very generous offers, over the top offers, but they still wouldn't accept it because, Sharp's a bloody. He's got every chance of being a really, really top flight player, and they know it. We know it, and they had the pick. They weren't going to pass with it. Having said that, I was a little bit surprised. We ended up with two forwards. Both left footers, one more mobile, one taller, but and no midfielder out of the draft. But look, the way that it panned, it didn't work out for us to be in the right spot to get the right players, and I think the club did well not to take the wrong players. So, in the sense of the fact that they got, I thought I really did like their first pick. We'll talk about that later. But their second pick, they were faced with getting perhaps a gamble on a midfielder, or a tall that had actually drifted out from about probably anticipated to go around about 12 at latest or something like that, and went to pick 50, and I got him. And I think, overall, I think they did well in that sense, but that still left us looking for that midfielder, and time will tell whether we actually pick that up. We did keep a spare pick, and that was smart. That part I thought was smart. So I'd probably give them about a 7 or 8 out of 10, mate.
Big Man, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I was pretty happy overall. It was interesting, after the fact, learning about what we offered up for Sharp. as it turns out, what we offered up Melbourne, it looks like, was our first and our future first, which is a fair amount to give up for one player. Regarding what Macca was saying about not going hard enough for it, it was just a tricky one because Carlton were probably open to a trade at one point, but then once it became clear that Harry Dean was getting an early bid from West Coast, they just needed points to get out of that draft.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the points that the other teams could offer, and Essendon did.
Yeah,
So, Carlton just, we just couldn't satisfy them, and then we had to wait until draft night and hopefully get it off Essendon, but it didn't, and it sounds like Melbourne weren't going to budge anyway. So sort of, I think you'll find, especially that, particularly at the top end of the draft, once clubs have players that they know, like they really start to lock on into players and fall in love with them, and they really don't like trading away those picks, knowing they could get that player. So it's very picks become worth a lot more on draft night than they do in trade period, particularly at the top end. But I agree. I think the Marsh pick was great. We talked about him quite a bit on the last podcast, and I said I'd feel sick if we passed on him, and we didn't. Thank God. I think he was just the perfect pick for us, given where we were in the draft. If we weren't going to move, then I think he was the one to take, and luckily he got to there. And we know that Geelong and Freo was sniffing around that pick as well, like for Marsh as well. So thankfully we got in front of them, and he's going to be a really good player for us. He's I know he's not the tallest bloke, but he's got an engine to move up the ground, and he's got a bit of pizzazz with his kicking and everything. I think he's just getting better and better as he gets older too. So I'm pretty excited about that, and he's local, which helps. And then the Ludovic pick, it's funny, we always talk about how clubs will say, "Oh, I can't believe he got to that pick," and rah-rah. But in this case, we were being linked to Ludovic quite strongly in those last couple of days before the draft. Like Toomey was saying, was basically between Marsh or Ludovic. So for him to actually get to our second pick all the way down to 50 is pretty interesting. I think it was someone you just worth taking a gamble on because I don't think you could have enough tools. I have some queries on his game as it is, but he's still young. He only just turned 18. He's built like he's going to be a big boy, but at the moment he's still very skinny, and he's all arms and legs. So I'll give him time, but I do have some concerns about his marking and such. But there's no doubt there's a bit of talent there, and I think at pick 50, you just swing for the fences and hope maybe that it turns out all right in the end.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Marsh ends up. He's been touted in various spots, actually. Sort of comes in as maybe a third tall, but some projections about the wing and lead up and all that sort of stuff. And listening to Hamish talk post-draft, it seems that perhaps we view him somewhere else, which probably explains why we took the second pick the way we did. Given that Marsh may not be the first choice third tall. So look, I think it was a good idea to get at least one forward in. Obviously with Tex on the decline and at the back end of his career. I'm surprised they actually went as hard for Sharp as what they did, because I don't probably rate him as highly as you, Mac, in terms of what his ceiling might be. And I felt like that was a lot to pay to get probably the only realistic midfield pick for us that was worthwhile. And it didn't surprise me that once they failed in that bid, we just decided to play a pretty straight bat. Those saying we should have picked a mid. I think it's going to turn out to be not a very strong draft, and I think those lads that went in the late round, sort of late first round, second rounds, may struggle to reach the mark. That's just my personal read on it. So I think in the end, we did the best with what we had. You could probably argue that we didn't put ourselves in the best position, but I'm not unhappy, given what's on offer next season with the draft, potentially, that we held on to our 2026 first rounder.
Yeah, I think that's... Sorry, Mac,
go ahead.
Okay. Who should go? Finn, choose who goes.
Flip a coin, big man.
All right. Sorry, Becca. So,
It's all right.
well, it's interesting though what you brought up about how much we're willing to give up for Sharp. I think that's a good point. Like I do like him. It is a lot to give up, and this time next year, if we have a middling year, which isn't out of the equation, and we end up with let's say a pick between 9 and 11 or 12, that's a pretty handy pick to give up in combination with 16
Certainly
that we started
is.
with. So we might have lived to regret that, as much as Sharp is a quality player. So I don't know if they saved us from ourselves, but at the same time, it did seem a bit overs. I will say that one thing I forgot to mention was that we did trade the pick that we got for Peatling in the previous year from the Giants into next year. We gave it to the Gold Coast, and we ended up getting Essendon's future third, which is a good little deal, I reckon, because because our other pick, which was originally 55, that moved up into 50 or 49 before we made the bid on Max King.
Yeah.
And that came up, and then we ended up getting Ludovic anyway. So that was a nice little bit of trading, because that third round from Essendon's got to be okay next year, all things considered. And also, unfortunately, we couldn't trade away our final pick. We took 5 minutes with that final pick, which suggests to me that we did try to trade it away, but no.
We called every club.
Because,
I think we tried to trade it into the AFLW, to be honest with you.
So that was actually the pick. Pretty sure that was the pick we got in the Finbar Maley trade from North. But
it was.
Yeah. So, but that's all right. It is what it is. But I thought the other trade was good too.
Yeah. Just mentioning Finbar. I was going to mention Finbar Maley that like he was actually prior to the draft, of course, being a trade. And look, he's a late comer to the game. He's a ruck forward. I don't know if we actually ever watched him play. I have seen him play. He's only played the 6 games. Raw as buggery. He's absolutely raw as buggery. But I can't remember him taking an absolute bloody screamer of a mark and kicked a nice goal out of it. So I think I can understand why they got him, because of the fact that I think he's also the type that you can put out there as a ruckman as well. I don't think he's going to be in our side for quite a while. But having said that, as I said, because he's raw, he is really raw. But he has untapped athletic potential, in my opinion. He really has, and 7 games he played. Sorry, and I just think that he will develop into a player. He's not. North played him as a ruck forward in those games that he played. We've got so many bloody forwards. If they'd only change the rules, you could kick goals both in. We'd be covered. We could put 18 forwards out there. I thought that and of course the big one, of course, getting Calamachi, absolutely naught. Brisbane, I thought our offers to Brisbane were fair. They were fair, but Brisbane wanted a premium. Well, they got a premium. It's called airfall, and that's what they got. And you play hard games. You can play 2 hard games, you get nothing, and that's what they got. Nothing. It was hard. Get Calamachi.
It was hard to work out, wasn't it, Mac? Well, Brisbane's attitude was hard to work out, wasn't it? To play hardball like that on a bloke like Archie, and to insist on our first rounder when clearly that was never going to be on the table.
It was ridiculous.
And given the service that he's provided them and the circumstances around him wanting to come to Adelaide, etc., it just seemed like a massive overplay by Brisbane, a little bit arrogant, if you ask me. And they probably don't care that they didn't get anything for him on the one hand, but on the other hand, why would you insist on a first rounder and then be happy to take nothing? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it is totally illogical. I could understand it, if we were asking for one of their whiz kids or something like that. But, Calamachi, and he is a very, very handy player. He played an outstanding game in the grand final as a defensive wingman, just to show that he's got not just forward talents. He's a very talented bloke. You could play in most positions on the ground. And Dan Curtin will remember him well because Dan Curtin played his first game in the back pocket on Archie, who kicked 4 goals in a half.
Yeah,
and
got towed up.
Yeah. So
I was just say it's interesting that Firewalker mentioned that Brisbane wanted to set a precedent for anyone in the future who wants to leave them. But the thing for me is that the precedent's almost that hey, you can take a player for free in the preseason draft.
That's right.
Because it wasn't like we were finished in the bottom 4 and we were a real threat. We made top 6 and we still got a guy to get through to us in the preseason draft. So yeah, I thought it was strange. It was a no-win situation for them, and as you said, they're a bit arrogant. They can afford to be because they got academy kids and father sons, and they're winning flags and whatnot. But and they just run by a different economy than we do. But at the same time, it was bizarre, Fina, just to treat the player like that, let alone not accepting what we offered. Which ended up being okay. a second and a third. So.
And not that this lad wasn't deserving, but Brisbane then went and gave us another clip by taking Dan's brother late in the draft. It's like, well, that was. It seemed like a little clip on the way out, sort of thing. So I don't know whether
it reminded me a little bit when Sydney bid on Max, before getting out of that draft a few years ago, the year after we took Dawson off him. And I just thought, is that is there anything to that? Surely not at that level, but clubs can be petty, Fina.
They can be.
It can, yeah, apparently so. Well, I mean, and of course we've got Zach Bailey on the table potentially next year, so maybe they were trying to set some groundwork there. But as you say, it was a bit, I don't know, it just seemed a bit petty, like you say, and that we probably would have been happy to give them a combination to give them some points for all their raft of bloody academies and whatever the hell else concessions they get, but in the end we get him for nothing. So but it was good that he got here without any argy-bargy, and he will be a real asset for us, I think, as a very versatile player, and a proven big game player as well, Calamachi. So it's great to have him on board.
Yeah, and particularly when you look back and I don't know whether you read the article, that as a kid he was a Crows boy. And he used to wear, I think, a 23 on his back, Andrew McLeod. And he used to worship the Crows. And to him, this is one of the greatest moments of his life, is joining the Crows. So we not only recruited a bloke, we've got a bloke who's in love with us who wants to come here. So, I mean, you can't get better than that. I think he'll play very well for us.
You can't underestimate the impact that Mac has had, since over his career and since then, in terms of attracting Indigenous talent and having someone that players fall in love with as kids. Like Mac has been so important, probably the most important of any of our players. He's not the first guy that. Sorry.
I just want to clarify that when you say Mackie, you're not talking about Mackie, you're talking about Bungie.
Oh well, I could be both, really, but I meant Bungie, but but no, Rankin, and I know he was a great player for us, but Curtly Hampton, and there's others too, where the legacy of Bungie lives on. So such a good player and so important for us.
And it seems that we are prioritising players that did grow up as Crows fans. We've got Ranks and we've got Jordan Dawson, of course, and Cal Archie, and probably one or two others. Not a terrible strategy, really, particularly when they're pitted up against the little brothers down the road. Look, overall, in terms of the draft, you mentioned we got Finbar as well, who I think is speculative at best, but probably a better player to have as a project player than Kyle Gallagher, with all due respect. Finbar does seem to have some talents. I remember watching his old man play basketball down at Apollo. He's got some athletic ability and he's got some raw talent. Whether he ends up being a factor or not, who knows? But I have no problem in the club for relatively nothing to giving him a go and seeing what he can deliver. And of course, if he can deliver, then he provides another handy tall option in rotations with Thilthorpe, etc. Mac.
Yeah, look, I reckon also, that Burgess had shown that he really wasn't up to it when he did get his opportunities. So, I would back Finbar to beat Burgess every day of the week. So I think that, he might be the new Burgess in the sense that he's there, that if there's a hole in the forward line or if there's a hole in the ruck or something like that. And he may surprise us and do better than that. But I just see him, he's definitely a better version of Burgess anyhow.
I wouldn't say that.
I mean, I think as a player, he's not as good as Burgess, but in terms of his height and ability to go on the ruck, I think he offers more in terms of what he could, the role he could fill. I will say, Macca, having watched him at training already a few sessions, he's kicking. I don't think you're going to be a fan of his kicking.
Oh, no, shithouse kick. No, but I'm talking about potential. He's potential. I mean, Burgess was never going to rise above what he was. Whereas this guy is relatively new to the game. So, I mean, look, he's a shithouse kick. There's no doubt about that.
Well,
it's
that's
horrid.
not... I mean, let's be honest. That's not going to change. It's not going to change.
Well, it'll improve a bit. I mean, it can't go do better than the one that Rob did halfway up his knee.
I'm a firm believer that if you haven't got a half-decent technique by the time you're 16, you're never going to be able to kick the ball properly.
Oh, it's hard. There's no doubt about that. But I think the rest of his game will be okay. But as I said, I think he's there, in terms of break glass type thing.
Well, I don't even think he's that. I think he's a definite project player. I don't think there would be any expectations of him playing AFL. And, particularly next season, I would imagine. But worthwhile taking a punt and see if they can mould him into something. Because of his athletic ability.
It is weird, Fina, though, having a project player only on a one-year deal.
Well, yeah, that's true. So, I mean, I guess if all our tools went down, then he'd be the guy, I suppose. And maybe we just felt with Kieran Strawn retiring or being delisted that, we needed just that extra person. So in that sense, I guess Mac is right. It is a bit of a break glass situation, but I think it'd have to be a lot of glass on the floor. I'd rather play Trent Orman Allen than bring Trent Orman Allen out from retirement to Ruck than Finbar, to be honest.
Look, he may surprise us. I don't know, but no. As I said, I've seen him play, and he did have moments. I mean, he did have moments, and he's raw. As I said, raw as buggery, and he will improve. Whether I know the point about the kicking is pretty valid, but I think
he's going to play forward.
I think he's there just as a backup type thing.
Yeah,
and Burgess showed he wasn't good enough.
Well, Chris was a very good SANFL player and a very good state league level player who just for whatever reason couldn't convert that to the AFL. And I think, across what did he play? 3 different clubs, I think, Chris Burgess. I think he put his best foot forward, but I wasn't averse to us moving him on, or Kieran Strawn for that matter, who I think is of the same ilk. I just wonder, there's 1 or 2 state league ruckmen that I think we could have given a run, Mac, and who are genuine ruckmen. And I just wonder whether it wouldn't have been better taking a 23 or 24-year-old state league ruck rather than Finbar. But I guess, neither here nor there.
I guess that's what Lockie McAndrew's for.
Well, I suppose so. But, I mean, we've had a year of Lockie now, and yes, he had an injury or 2, but not sure. I was hoping for more from Lockie, to be honest. I was hoping that Lockie would actually put a lot of pressure on O'Brien, but that hasn't turned out to be the case so far.
He actually had a really good SANFL year, McAndrew. He struggled a bit in the finals, which is, I think, a lot of people tuned in for and probably weren't very impressed by him. But if you actually, for the majority of the season, he was actually one of the best ruckmen in the league. So I wouldn't. I don't know. Like I think there will be better, hopefully, alternatives going forward at some stage if we do recruit another ruckman ever. But for now, I actually don't think he's hopeless at all. I think he's got some attributes And particularly with his height.
It's hopeless.
And with the new,
I'm not saying it's hopeless.
yeah, and with the new rules, Finn, like we don't know. I mean, Rob's could be caught out with the new rules. We have to wait and see. So
that thought did cross my mind actually. That with that change of, I mean, Rob's always relied on wrestling and physical stuff to try and get the tap. But now they've got to really face each other and going to jump. They're going to have to jump, aren't they?
Which Rob doesn't do, Mac, too well. He's not much of a leaper.
Well,
it is going to be very interesting.
Lucky to get a sheet of paper underneath his boots when he jumps.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how O'Brien goes under the new rules.
I agree.
I'm not necessarily holding out hope. But anyway, so, I mean, there it is. Not a huge amount of change or unpredicted change in the list. I think we've made our list a little better with the two draftees that we've brought in Marsh and, I can't say it, big man. How do you spell it? How do you say it?
Ludovic.
Ludovic.
Yep.
I actually like Mitch Marsh a lot, so I felt like he plays a short ball really well. He can hit the ball hard. Bowls a heavy ball too, coming second or third change, and can really turn the game around. Macca, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I really, really like him, and Big Man's already said that he likes it. What's the chapel?
Macca, you just proved that you don't listen to a word I freaking say.
I was going to say that went right over your head, Macca.
So what did I thought you were talking about Mitch Marsh, weren't you?
Yeah, Mitch Marsh, the cricketer.
Well, I don't rate him as highly.
The irony, Finn, is that Mitch Marsh, the cricketer, actually played state footy for Western Australian under 18 championships back in the day.
Imagine what sort of a beast he would have been. He would have been a massive beast.
He wasn't the most graceful mover, but he was a big boy.
But he would have just killed people. A big shout out to Nathan on the YouTube chat for the super thanks. Thanks, mate. He says, great work on the year, lads. Enjoyed it and appreciate it. Fingers crossed all you guys are back on again next year. It's been a great listen, and we appreciate everyone who's listened in, both in South Australia and also interstate and overseas. We've had fantastic support this year. Our subscribers on YouTube have doubled over the course of the year, which is fantastic. It's been our most successful year in that regard. Everyone who listens in and has a comment or joins our Discord or whatever, it's greatly appreciated. So thanks, Nathan, and thanks everyone else as well. And don't forget, if you are in the Discord studio audience and you want to have something to say, then stick your hand up. Animal's stuck his hand up, and let's get him on, because Animal's always good to listen to. Come on board, Animal. How are you, mate?
Hey guys, how you go?
I always like bringing you on because then I get to look at your Homer Simpson avatar, which I really like.
I always love that one, right?
Yeah.
Just trolling. No, I didn't really have anything so I can say. I just wanted to ask if you guys seen the clip they put out of Josh Rachele's 150 kilo bench press.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did see it.
Yeah. He's almost up to my level now, Josh, which is great to see.
Yeah.
I went down the gym and a bit of weights here and there, and 150 kilos is no joke. That's, for a guy his size, that's a fucking hell of a bench press.
Well, I reckon me and Big Man could do it. Him on one side and me on the other side.
Yeah, that's right.
But at the same time, yeah.
I can deadlift 150 kilos, but I can't bench press 150 kilos. But you know, I just thought the video in itself, the whole attitude with the players around him, getting around him and stuff, it was good. I thought it was pretty good.
It's curious, Animal, because like you watch him play, you wouldn't think he's that strong. Obviously, he's got big arms and everything, but he doesn't really play with that strength. Hopefully, that's something he can incorporate into his game. now that he's so strong.
Well, it would be impressive because he's crafty and he's quick. So if he can add a little bit of that don't argue type strength in there, that'd be cool. That'd be awesome, I reckon. But anyway, that's all I got.
Mate, Animal, I just hope. And what do you reckon? He deserves at least 50% midfield time next year, don't you reckon?
You got to get him in there because when he does get in there, like it's exciting. That was my one. Like the final series, it wasn't great. We didn't look good, but the one thing that looked great was seeing him come on, even as a sub at the end, going, "Look at this kid! Fuck, we miss this kid." And probably my biggest sort of I wouldn't say it's my regret, but my biggest coaching regret from that series was not just playing him at the start of that game. I just should have put him on early. Like he was the answer. As soon as he come on, we looked all right for a while. But yeah, man, I'm excited about what that kid's going to look like next year.
The thing about Rachele Animal too, I think when because he had that great start to his career, that debut game. I think in his first maybe 1 or 2 years, I think he was actually slightly rated by the media, but I actually think he's being underrated now. I think he doesn't get the credit he deserves. He was having a great season. Unfortunately, copped that knee to the ribs from Sherry from North Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously gets the knee injury against Melbourne, a couple months later. And
so he didn't get
to have the whole massive. And he was going game. He was almost all Australian small forward quality. And hopefully he can just put a whole season together because it's going to happen. At some point he's going to have a breakout year, and hopefully that's next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like he's ready. He's big enough. Oh, the other thing I was going to ask you, what do you think about Harry getting another run? I was pretty happy to see that.
Yeah, that's great. I was stoked for it.
Animal, it just means his Brownlow hopes are alive, mate. So that's good for my multi.
That's what you said, wasn't it? That's what you said he was going to win one, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, look, yeah. I don't know if I thought he was going to get a Brownlow, but I thought he was going to be a great player when he started. He looked really good.
That first season, he looked like he had something, didn't he? But never mind.
Oh, no, I do think he has got something, but the trouble is that he didn't apply himself appropriately. He did early, but not. He could, instead of going on and improving, he just. I think he went slightly off the rails personally.
Yeah. Well, I think when he worked it out, Macca. Sorry, by the time he worked it out, Macca, then he got that Achilles, and he got that Achilles at exactly the wrong moment because he seemed to have got himself together, and then he had that basically 12-month setback, and I think that was just goes to show you got to make every post a winner because you don't know what's down the track.
Yeah, and it's sad because he has got ability.
I was like, we all heard.
Well, hopefully, this sort of second chance is a good sort of eye opener for him, and helps him pull his head in, and maybe some time away in a different city as well. I think that's a fresh start for him would be good for him.
Yeah, because I think I think we've all heard the rumors about during those 22, 23 years, he wasn't quite up to snuff with his professionalism, and it impacted his footy, didn't it, in the end? So, and as Fee made a good point, he was actually turned the corner and then did the Achilles, and that's a really nasty injury that takes a while to recover from. So, but from all reports, he's a great kid. He's really well liked by all the players around him and everything. So. No, I was wrapped. I know it's only a 1-year deal, but I hope he can make something of it over there at the Eagles because and he should be able to get a gig. I know they got a few guys in, but he's better than Finn McRae, and I know he's just as good as Dev Robertson. So hopefully he gets a gig.
Well, it'll be actually good to see him get a few full games and to actually get a bit of a run, because you'd imagine that he'd get a better run than what he got at Adelaide. And if he does get a go, hopefully he can make a good fist of it because it would be good to see him bounce back and forge a good career. I think, like you said, he's a good lad and just a good country boy and maybe took a little while, but we've had a few of those. Darcy Fogarty took a while to key in and got far more opportunity probably because of his attributes than Harry. So I hope for Harry's sake that he makes every post a winner on the West Coast.
Yeah. Good luck to him.
Thank you, Animal, and thank you for your contributions during the year, mate. And to you and your family, have a great Christmas and New Year.
Yeah, you too, guys. Merry Christmas to all you. And good job to see you guys. I enjoyed listening. I got to be honest, I dropped off a bit around the finals because fuck that final series. But anyway,
I think the whole club dropped off the finals.
Even we dropped off, mate.
Oh man, I just couldn't bring myself to think about footy. But anyway, apart from that, great. Good deal, guys.
Cheers, mate. Cheers.
Thanks, Animal.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Very good. Animal, a long-time fan, and if anyone else on Discord wants to say good day, then feel free to do so. Look, there was a couple of clubs, we won't dwell on the other clubs too much, but a couple of clubs that went bananas. First of all, I love the system that results in Gold Coast being able to give away 2 first-round picks for Christian Petrarca and then still have 3 picks in the top 15 in the draft. You'd hate being a Gold Coast bloody recruiter, wouldn't you?
It really has got to the stage where I know why the AFL introduced it, but really it's gone over the top, and they're just getting a massive kick up every year, kick up, and Brisbane are now they're cashing it on as well. How can they got a club that's been premier twice in a row? How can you have a pick 5 out of a I don't know where you end up pick 5, but thereabouts, from an academy player. I mean, everybody else has just got to slog away and try to get their players, and these are just getting handed too much free stuff. It's not right.
Don't forget the 2 free agents they got as well.
Correct.
Naka. So, because the whole system's busted. The thing about Cal Toomey mentioned how one thing they're probably going to change, and they should have changed this a long time ago. So as it is, you can't take any more players than you have picks that you bring into the draft at the start. But when draft night actually opens, you can trade in more picks, even though you more picks than you have list spots. So it's basically a useless thing. That's just a complete loophole, and that allows Gold Coast to get a bajillion picks to match all these bids. So, the whole system's stuffed, and they're going to change it. But surprise, surprise, they're only changing it after it benefits the expansion clubs, particularly Gold Coast. So, it annoys me. It's annoyed me for a while, and I'm not surprised that people are having complaining about it. But this was always going to be the case the way that this draft was tracking.
Well, this year, you could say is a crescendo of stupidity. It just it's been niggling away there. With you can see them just getting good players very cheaply, one after the other. But to get 5 in the 1 year, geez, not on. Not on.
Yeah, and of course Essendon really were the club that took advantage of their plight. I don't know whether they did as well as Richmond the previous year with their picks, but I don't think it was quite as strong a draft not anywhere near as strong a draft, I don't think, as last year. So, but I tell you what, Brad Scott would want to be able to turn that club around pretty quickly, because surely he's on shifting ground, and then they've got the obvious issue with their captain, who's now stood down as well. So, a lot to go through for the Bombers, I think.
Well, they've also got to make sure that they change their the chap that's in charge of fitness, because to have the number of injuries that they had, and they're all pretty similar type injuries, would suggest that they weren't being trained very well in terms of in the background there with their fitness coach. So I haven't read anything about it. I don't know whether you guys have picked up whether they had sacked.
They did, yeah. They got the guy from West Coast, Matt Ennis, or Rob Ennis, or whatever his name is, to do their new strength and conditioning.
Well, I think
they did replace him.
I think their last fitness coach, Mako, was having trouble reading the labels. So
I think so.
They were getting placebo instead of the thymosin or whatever it was. and it wasn't quite working for them.
I mean, they used to have 18, 20 injuries on the list. I mean, it's ridiculous. Never seen anything to match it.
Yeah. Well, and I don't reckon it'd be that hard to get a high-performance program wrong. I mean, Brett Burton, as much as we lambast him, he had good qualifications in that field and completely butchered 2 lists. So, it is a pretty precise sort of a science, and that's why these blokes are highly rated. When you get a good one, you want to hang on to them. So, and just on that, it'll be interesting to see how our new bloke, who I've forgotten his name, who replaced Darren Burgess, will go next year, and whether it has any impact on our program.
Well, yeah, that's yet to be seen. And I mean, Burgess did an outstanding job. If we look at our injury lists every week, there's bugger all on it every week, and maybe 1 or 2, and a lot of them were collision injuries. No, he was just an outstanding in his field, obviously, and when he's wanted internationally. But yeah, I don't know much about the guy.
We've had good blokes before. The bloke that Burton pushed out, Nick Poulos, he was an excellent.
He was good. Yeah, he was.
He was extra, and he went on to coach the Australian Rugby Sevens and a few other bits and pieces, and he was also highly sought after. So, without going down that road again, I guess my point is that it'll be interesting, and fingers crossed, we've found a good replacement, and our program doesn't suffer, because it can go wrong really quickly if it starts going off the rails. What else have we got? We've got a couple of train-ons. We've got Mick McGowan's lad, and we've also got what's his name? Foot from Southport in Queensland. Both extremely different players. Foot mature age, obviously, 25.
Really.
Been around for a while, been in the system for a while, and McGowan looks very, very raw and small, and I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what the idea is with what's his name? Tom
McGowan.
Tom, yeah. I'm not quite. All due respect to Tom, but I'm not quite sure what the idea is there. To be honest.
I don't know if you saw the vision of him training, and I must admit, my heart went out to the poor little bastard. Look, he's not very big. He's 177 centimetres, and he's lightly framed. And he's with the Magpies. His dad was a legend there, Mick McGowan, absolute legend. Tom's a left footer, and they showed vision of him at training, and the poor little bastard, he's running around like a headless chook, trying to be involved in every bit of play so that they can see that he's got ability. And I just feel, my heart goes out to the poor little blighter. I mean, he's been a big shaft, because he would have thought he was going to get picked up in the draft as a father-son, and he didn't. And he's come over here, and he's not guaranteed anything. He's got to impress. And I saw a little bastard running around everywhere like a headless chook, just trying to get involved in it. And he's a neat little kid, but he's very lightly framed. He's 177 centimetres. He hasn't got a lot going for him in the sense of immediate impact, that's for sure. If you took him, he would be on the basis that those that can see ability in players can see it in him, and that's going to take time to come. But for him in particular, I felt very sorry for.
Big man, do you think that either of those two are potentially better than Harry Schomburg?
I think it's more a case of what you don't know rather than what you already have. So we knew what we had with Harry, and I guess we thought we can do better. And at least these guys are untested to an extent. I mean, Foot played a little bit for Sydney, but not much. It's interesting. I mean, there's a few players who are overlooked in the draft, particularly the main draft. A few got taken in the rookie draft, but there's still a few left over as well that I would have preferred. But at the same time, every other club overlooked him as well, including Port Adelaide, in terms of local boys. So It makes you wonder, like, what if I'll see something that wasn't there, or maybe they got personal issues and attitude issues that stop the club from going down that direction. I'm not sure. But yeah, with the two guys we're training on at the moment. Look, I've seen them 3 times now, and sorry, 2 times because they didn't train on Monday. But yeah, I have reservations on both. I mean, McGuan is an interesting case because he was actually projected to go quite high in the draft at the start of the year. And his start of the year was really good, but then as the year wore on, he struggled a bit for Vic Metro. He didn't do a whole lot for Collingwood in their VFL team, and I think they lost a bit of faith in him. And you can sort of see why, because he is very light. I know there's small midfielders out there, but he's got that sort of very small frame that you could easily you could just ragdoll him, you know? Yeah, he just looks like someone you could ragdoll, and that worries me a bit because his main role is as an inside midfielder. He's a natural ball winner. He's got pretty good footy smarts. He's good in that link-up play. He's probably a bit like Matt Crouch in that way. He even kicks sort of as that little short, dinky kick. But he's got a bit more pace than Matt, but he doesn't have the inside ability. So, yeah, look, he can win the footy, but I think at AFL level he's going to be exposed. So I just wonder how. It's pretty tough for him too. You know, he's basically going up against a guy that's 7 years older and much bigger, much bigger build. So he's got his work cut out for him. I wonder if we don't end up taking him, whether we can get him to stay in our SNFL program and have a look at him throughout the year rather than him playing in the VFL.
It's a train-on play.
Yeah, and then as for Foot, look, I didn't like him that much at his draft year because I didn't like his kicking and his decision making. I thought he was too frenetic. He's gone on to have a pretty good stint at Southport. But watching him on last week, he still has that awful ball drop.
Yeah.
With his skills, I worry. But I mean, he's impressive when he moves. Like he's a great size. He's not the tallest guy, but he's a great. He's got that big, bulky build, but he's athletic looking as well. But I just wonder if he's got the footy IQ and the skills. So if you can merge the two players together, you have a pretty good player. But I think as it is, neither are probably going to really help us going forward. And I just wonder if we could do better, with this selection, or even hold out for the mid-season pick or something next year.
I wonder sometimes, like we engage a lot of recruiting and scouts across the country, and we obviously have a list profile that our recruiting and list management teams would be well across, and it just surprises me sometimes that, and this is no disrespect to the players at all, but my initial reaction was, is that the best you can come up with? There's got to be better players in the state system. And to my eye, Elijah Hollins would have been a better speculative train-on than either of them, to at least have a look and assess where he's at mentally and from a lifestyle point of view. And I'm surprised, actually, that we didn't get Elijah down.
Well, I mean, the thing with Elijah is that he's not a football ability; it's the other stuff. And there's been a lot of rumours about him, and even if half of them are true, that's probably enough to worry.
You get him down and have a look, big man, don't you? You can work. Well, I don't know. I mean,
he's training with Carlton as it is at the moment, so like he's with them at the moment. So I don't know. I think there's enough reason to be concerned there. I agree though, in terms of ability, absolutely. Yeah, the thing is, we were always going to do this, weren't we? Because we even said that we're only going to take 2 picks in the draft. So we always had in mind that to have a couple of train-on players. I wonder if were these always going to be at the 2, or did someone get snapped up in the draft? Or
that's possible.
I'm not sure, but
there are other blokes that missed out on the draft. There are other blokes that missed out on the draft that didn't get taken that I would have had a look at before these 2.
Yeah, so we don't know exactly, but let's just say that there's a possibility that these were the 2 guys we always had in mind because we knew they weren't going to get taken in the draft. So that's a bit odd. And I agree. I think there probably is better out there. Like I know he's not the best athlete, but even like Tom Lewis at Sturt, I think he's a great little player. And he's someone who is small, but he's got that build that makes it hard to tackle and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think in this year, if he was ever going to get a gig, I think it was this year, and he still couldn't. So, and I wonder if maybe it was Angus Anderson, potentially someone we're looking at. who got taken late in that draft. Another Sturt lad. So yeah, I'm not sure. It seems like it is a bit strange, Fina, and I wouldn't be surprised if we just end up not taking anyone. But at the same time, they're only a couple of sessions in. I'll give them a bit more time before I make a final call. But I wouldn't say I'm excited about either at the moment.
Yeah, guys, I agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't take either of them. It'd be interesting because over time one of them might just sort of erupt and really start to look like they've got the goods. But initial impressions are that what they've shown initially is not enough to think that they'll get a spot. And really doesn't matter if they don't take them, in the sense that still leaves it open for probably at this stage, if these are the players that probably under the SSP, I don't think they would have other players under the SSP, but if you leave it to the mid-season draft, you've got an open spot. And there's always some player that sort of erupts during the year in the either VFL or the Waffle or the Sandful, somebody. And I would be quite happy if they don't take either of these two. And if they don't, unless they show something astonishing, and then leave a spot open for the mid-season draft. I mean, that's how Hawthorn got Newcomb, because all of a sudden he was shining. Yeah, and they got an absolute ripper.
Yeah, yeah. I don't disagree with that at all, Mac. I think better to keep the list spot open and have a look halfway through than just take someone for the hell of it. And to be perfectly frank, I don't think either of these lads are really going to give us any sort of value at all on our list, apart from just being good ordinary SANFL players, to be frank. And that's, again, no disrespect, and hopefully they prove me wrong, but that's my view on it right now.
They have to improve things.
Well, they'd have to improve substantially, and McGuan would have to, SANFL is not a kids' league. It's full of strong bodies and very committed players, and you can't just waltz in as a talented 18-year-old and dominate. And McGuan, I think, will struggle even at SANFL level, to be frank with you, but just from a size perspective.
Agreed.
Yeah. So as we end up, there wasn't any coaching changes, which I was a little bit disappointed about. I would have liked to have seen some movement there, particularly with Van Berlo. I don't think he's covered himself in glory with the manner in which our midfield capitulated in the second half of the season or towards the end of the season, and I've never really been sold on him. I know he's a club stalwart and he's a fine, upstanding person and he's very smart, but and it's always difficult to tell who's pulling what strings when it comes to the coaching group and who's responsible for what. But we saw some progress with our defence. I think we saw a bit of progress with our forward line, but I felt like our midfield was pretty stagnant, and from what I saw in terms of our setups and the way we went about it, I felt like it was pretty unimaginative, and we need to do more in that space.
Not just unimaginative, but sometimes just perplexing things. I don't know, sometimes, I remember it was LDU against North Melbourne, it was Pendlebury against Collingwood. There were times that we just let opposition players stand by themselves. It's in the centre bounce. So, and that could be players making strange errors, but at this stage, at this level, I think that comes down to the coach, and that has to be Van Berlo. So, that was bizarre, and I agree. I think we can all acknowledge on a talent level we don't have the midfield of other teams, but when you look at the names that are there, there's enough there to beat, I'd say at least half the teams in the AFL, and we were getting towed up in the clearances in the second half of the year by some pretty average midfields. I just wonder, we'll see this year how he goes, but wouldn't say I'm hugely confident in what Van Berlo is bringing to the club.
Macca, I don't know about you, but I'm not completely yet ready to write off our current midfield stock as second-rate B graders. I feel like there's more than a few players in that group that have been poorly served by our development, and their development paths, their exposure to A-grade football, and the way in which they've been used in the SANFL. Charlie Edwards comes to mind. Sid Draper comes to mind.
Sid.
You know, and this I think, you know, the club, for rightly or wrongly, and maybe through circumstance, has shown a lot of faith in our midfield group, considering they picked 2 forwards in the draft and didn't trade for a midfield during the trade period. So, you know, the responsibility is on those lads now to step up, but it's also the responsibility of the coaching staff and Matthew Nix in particular to start showing some trust in these blokes and to not get gun shy when it might take a little bit of time to get going in senior football. And I don't think Luke Pedlar's been terribly well served by his development path. I don't think Josh Rachele has been well served. Charlie Edwards is another who is probably behind the 8 ball development wise. You know, the club owes it to itself and also to these players to get them involved, because the last thing you want to be seen as is a club that recruits players and doesn't play kids, because then as a draftee coming in, you think, well, I'm not going to play. And I remember clearly, and Macca, you and I have said this in the past, when we were interviewing the likes of Schoenberg, etc., how excited they were to be taking the baton over from the previous generation. And it must have been terribly deflating for that group of players to then, the moment the club got a sniff of finals, to just essentially be cast aside into bit players and to not be entrusted with any responsibility to get us to that next level. So I think it's a real moment for the club, Macca, with regards to how we treat this group of players next season, considering they've now been entrusted with moving us forward.
And there are, there's plenty of opportunities to try things. And as you said, they've been very reluctant to even give the Edwards, etc., a chance, let alone, they've turned also from a midfielder into a half back. So, which I feel is strange because the guy was going quite well as a midfielder, and instead of being given a try at AFL level as a midfielder, they turned him into a half back. So you're quite right, but I think though that I think there will be a little bit of movement in terms of where players play this year. Dan Curtin, I think, will get opportunities in the midfield. I know that he was. I thought he did very, very well on the wing last year. In fact, really, really, really well. And but he's got lots of more talent to be used. I don't think we've even touched the whole depth of his talent yet. And I know that he's not going to star in the midfield immediately, but they've got to work him in there and just give him spells in there. Not necessarily rely on being the man, but just give him opportunities. So just develop him and the Rank and Rachele, they've got to be in there all the time, and because they just have that little extra touch of class that that gets the ball out of there and moves it nicely and quickly. So we've got the regulars, Saligo and Peatlick, I think who are hard workers along with Dawson. But we and as you said, Pedlar's never been given the true opportunity there either. I think we've got enough players that, without getting anybody else, there should be a lot of experimentation going on there, and also using the players that we know have got talents in the midfield. We just don't use them enough.
NT talks about Curtin in the chat, and of course he's an obvious inclusion. Next year you would think footage of him and Rash doing laps, and him and Ranks doing laps, and he looks to have just put on a bit more bulk, and he might be the scariest kid in bloody AFL football, big man.
Yeah. It was interesting too. It was strange because not the Wednesday session, but Monday and Friday, he didn't wear any bandage on his leg, on his left knee. So I thought that was good. On Wednesday he did. So I wonder if he had some soreness on the Wednesday, or the new guy in charge of the fitness is trying to sort of wean him off wearing it, because I think it's probably more than anything just a superstition for Dan. But Yeah, I just thought it was a little curious thing, and he's moving really well. As you said, I mean, he's already a big guy, but he's probably got even a little bit bigger, and he just continues to get better and better at the running. He was very good last year. I think if they did the time trial probably tomorrow, so I'd be curious to see how he goes. But yeah, he'll be pretty high up there, as will Rankin, who's just flying at the moment. He looks like a man that wants to atone for his sins, and he could play right now if he wanted to. But yeah, look, I agree. And the one thing about Dan too, when they do at the end of every session, everyone sort of does their own thing in different groups to work on a bit of craft. And Dan was doing stoppage work with Riley O'Brien and Lockie McAndrew, which I thought was good to see. And yeah, I think there's a real chance we will see him in the middle early in the season, but obviously a lot of water to go under that bridge.
Yep. I can't think of anything else player-wise. Either of you guys think of anything? I don't think so.
Did we,
So I was going to say we added Joey Haynes to our SNFL team.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a good little get.
Yeah, it's great.
No, I think it's a good little get thing.
Yeah, it's good.
But like I know we talked about it previously, but I think you also have to consider Indy Cotton in sort of that draft cohort because this would have been his draft year if he stayed in the system. Yeah. And just quietly, he looks pretty good, so he might be one to get a bit excited about. Obviously, it will take a bit of time because he hasn't played a game of footy in 4 or 5 years. But yeah, I think he's going to be a pretty handy one for us, Finn.
As what? Yeah. What do you think he'll be?
I got no idea. I don't know if the club knows because the last time he played footy, he was a midfielder, but that was bloody Golden Grove back in the day, like when he was a kid. So, I mean, when you're 194, 195 centimeters or whatever he is, he doesn't really look it. He's very athletic, but he doesn't look that tall because he just moves so well. But yeah, I could see him. I mean, they'll probably start him on either forward line or a halfback or wing. I think wing might be a good role for him, but yeah, like we'll have to wait and see how it develops, and it'd be curious to see what the club has in store for him because hopefully they play him in a position that he's able to acclimatise to quickly because it's going to be difficult for him just those first few games. But yeah, just what I'm seeing, I just see someone he looks like a very calm and composed player, which is a good sign for someone who hasn't played footy for a long time.
Well, I don't know whether you're aware, Mako, but there's a strong history of ex-basketball players making it in the AFL. I think, Scott Pendlebury comes to mind.
Really?
I don't know whether anyone's aware that Scott Pendlebury used to play basketball.
I hadn't heard that since the 1,000th time I heard it. No, I tell you what, there is the players who have got football talent that have played basketball really do have a bit of an advantage because of their movements. Pendlebury is amazing. I mean, he slaughtered us, and he was about 103 years old or something. But his body movements, because of being a basketballer, just gets everybody wrong-footed and just beautiful movements. And he slaughtered us. But that's what I'm hoping with this bloke Cotton that. Because he did play footy at Golden Grove as a kid, and and he was apparently quite good. So I know he's got a lot of years to pick up, but we know one thing. We know he's got mobility, so he's got half of what Pendlebury's got. Now he's got to get the ability.
Well, the good thing is that he's been in elite sporting programs. So from that point of view, he's not. It's not as if he's been out fishing for 5 years or whatever, and. He, was highly rated as a junior, so let's see how that goes. But, a solid project player, absolutely. Obviously, we've rookied Tyler Welsh as well, but I've got to be frank with you, I don't really know why we did that. I know why we did it because we promised him we would, but I don't see Tyler making it, to be honest.
I was hoping that somebody else would take him before us. I really was because I'm in Fiend's camp. I can't see a footballer in him. I really can't. I can't see an AFL footballer.
Sometimes I worry about his footy IQ a bit. Sometimes I'm not sure he's the most natural. At least put it this way, like obviously he knows how to take a mark and kick a goal. There's no doubt about that. But in terms of like the finer things and the more complicated stuff of AFL footy, I do wonder if he's able to grasp that. Not everyone does, which we've seen in the past. I will say credit to Tyler. He's actually looks pretty fit. He's been running really well. He's another one I'm curious to see what his time trial is like. But they're not doing a heap of running at the moment. That's really going to test him. But the running they have done, he's actually been, at worst mid pack. So he's not languishing or anything like that. And he's moving around the ground better because shock horror fiend, if you're fit, mate, you're actually able to play better footy. So
yeah, no, it's unbelievable.
He is training better. He is training better, but there's obviously a long way to go. And I'll be curious to see how he tests if it's tomorrow.
Yeah, I will. As I said, I was hoping somebody else would take him in the rookie draft and leave us another spot open.
Well, I'd love nothing better than for Tyler to turn it around and prove his worth. My impression of him at the moment is that he's one of these big kids that, muscled his way through junior footy and has not really got the application. If he's turned the application part around, then you never know. There might be a forward in him. But he's coming from a fair way back now, given that he's basically wasted his time on the list so far. So, and he needs to, for him to be considered any sort of threat at AFL level, he needs to start kicking goals at SANFL level, particularly now that Burgess is out of the picture. And he needs to, he doesn't need to kick 100 goals, but he needs to have a good, solid 40-goal season in the twos, in my opinion. He's going to be 20 this year if he's not already. So, time is now for Tyler Welsh, I think.
Yeah, and look, he's how do I put this? Like, we picked up two more forwards. Cotton might be a forward as well. We got Archie and Finbar Maley. So look, he's got his work cut out for him.
Certainly had a message sent to him.
And, oh, absolutely. And look, if he can show enough improvement, there is a chance we keep him for another year. Like you can always extend him, but I agree. It's more unlikely than not. But I mean, it's his forward line now pretty much. Now that Burgess has gone, he's a pretty much a like for like. So you're right, Finn. If he does have a big year in the SNFL, then you can't really keep him on because he's been in the program for a couple of years now. I know we drafted him the year before, but he was in our program prior to that as well, playing in our SNFL team for most of the year. So he should. He's had enough experience now to really kick on. It's up to him now.
Do you think he's going to make it, big man?
Oh, look, history would say no. Which is a disappointment because, look, I know he was always being talked up as a junior, but I had some faith, and he showed some really good signs in his bottom age year. But AFL is a tough sport back here, and at the elite level, there's so much required of you, and not just physically but mentally as well. And there's probably too many holes in his game for to cover some of his drawbacks in terms of professionalism. If he was to get super fit, I'm not even still sure if he has enough in his game to make it at AFL level, but I'm still willing to give him the benefit of the doubt for now. But time's running out, as Finn said.
Yeah. On that point, Macca, who you see as perhaps some other players in our current, call it best 24 or 5, that may be under pressure this season?
Oof. Well, we've got a lot of fringe players, like Bond and blokes like that. I guess you're not talking about those. You're talking about ones that are regular 22s?
Oh, no, I'm talking about blokes that have been considered, either best 22 or in the emergencies, that best 24 or best 25.
Yeah. Look, I think, if we were 100% honest, I think Cummings should have a better year than the year he had. I don't think he was as good as he didn't live up to his GWS form, but I think there's a reason for that too. He played wing and his best foot, he's always been played on a half-back flank, and I would hope that he is moved back to a half-back flank. So that's one that really comes out. Like, I think Hinge is another that I thought his year was, by his standards, it deteriorated badly as the year went on. So he's one that's really got to lift his game. Miller was okay, but he's not. I thought he had patches of being very good, but he's Miller, which means he's not guaranteed to be good every week. Bond is a little bit unlucky because Bond is. I think they see Bond as a spare parts man to pop into what, like he could be. You can use him as a tagger. You can use him in the back lines. But like, I don't think he's ever really let us down when he's played. But he's one that's fighting for a spot. Pedlar's another. Cook hanging around the fringes. I don't think Cook's going to make it. So I think like Mitchell Marsh is going to be, if he doesn't make it in this season, in year one, he's certainly going to be in the side in year two. I'm sure of that. It's a beautiful pickup, and he could be taking a half forward. He could even be taking a wing. Neil Bullen, I think Neil Bullen. I think he did enough constantly to think that he would, if he repeated that he'd be okay.
Stop cheating and looking at the chat. I just want your opinion, not your assessment on everyone else's.
I haven't read anybody's comments, mate. This is just me concentrating, mate. I'm running it. God on it. I'm just thinking of Neil Bullen. Well, I thought he was pretty good all year, but he wasn't that good towards the end. So look, I think they are the players that is it. I think in the forward line, I think that Walker is, of course, another one that's got to. I don't know about Walker in the sense that I think when they play him, he's probably going to make a very good fist of it, which will make him a little bit difficult to know what to do. I think really they should have done one way or the other with Walker. I think probably get him to retire would have been a good way to do it. Fogarty, I think Fogarty's got to do a bit better than he did. Phil thought sort of carried it.
Jeez, half the team, half the team under pressure. Half the team under pressure.
Yeah. I think it's got to be that way. Because it's both like Edwards. I mean, Edwards in any other side, in any other club, I think he would have been tried.
You don't know. You don't know how it's going to go.
So,
you don't know how either of those two are going to go.
Unless you play me, never know.
You've really, yes, I know, mate. I've been saying that for 5 fucking years. But all I'm saying is, are there any players that are under pressure? I didn't mean for you to go through the whole squad. So thank you for your input, big man. What do you reckon?
I think one of the easiest ways to look at it is who's out of contract next year, because we've got about 16 or 17 blokes coming out in their final year of a contract.
Yeah,
and obviously there's some blokes who are either going to retire or are obviously mainstays in our team, but for whatever reason they haven't re-signed yet, like a Max Michaelani, for instance, who I think was apparently we're going to try and re-sign pretty quick. But if you look at all those players, like it's Zach Taylor, it's Braden Cook, it's Luke Pedlar, and many others, and I think Billy Dowling's another one. A lot of these guys, Charlie Edwards, Oscar Ryan. I mean, obviously they're a bit more recent draftees, but that's their third year coming up now. So the pressure's on for list spots, let alone spots in the team. And some of these guys have actually played a decent chunk of football for us, like Luke Pedlar and Cook, but haven't been able to solidify themselves. I think we all have a bit of hope still up for Pedlar. He obviously had that pretty good final against Collingwood, and I think we think that if he can just get a good clean run at it, that there's enough there for him to have a good year, because we saw what he did a couple of years ago when he was fit. Yeah. And I think we're hoping that can happen again. Braden Cooks was an interesting one, because I think in terms of his skill level, he'd be so important. He'd be so great for our side to have, because you can't have enough good kicks, but obviously there's more to footy than just kicking well. And it's his competitiveness that's been an issue. I will say, though, I think he has turned a corner to some degree with his competitiveness. even if it was just in the SNFL. He was taking games over late in the year, particularly that game against, I think it was Glenelg or someone, that he kicked 6 or 7 goals. And he was just dominating it. And he was winning hardball too. It wasn't all just, easy, fluff stuff. So, and even in the 2-3 games he played, I know he had that game where Macca wrote him off for the rest of his career, but the other 2 games he played, he played really well in a wet showdown, albeit a game he dominated, but he also played really well under the dome against a pretty good side in the Bulldogs in a close game. And I just feel like he played his best footy last year, so he's obviously improving. Is he going to be good enough to make it as an AFL player? But it's his age now. He turns 24 next year, so it's now or never. And you think it's probably more unlikely than likely. But he's someone a bit like Nankervis, where someone that I just really think they can add a lot to our team if we can just get him in there. And obviously it's up to them as well. And I think Nankervis has a bit more to his game than Cook in terms of his defensive and competitive stuff. But they're 2 that I'd really like to see in the team, particularly Nankervis. Even just watching it training at the moment, I'm just like, why wasn't this guy in our team at the start of last year? And I think he lost his confidence a bit, not being able to get back in the team, and his game sort of fell away a bit.
Well, he got moved around the park too.
Yeah, I think there's enough there, Fina. I think that he's got enough AFL attributes to make it. So I really hope he does. I think we all hope at least one of Charlie or Oscar make it, as because they're both first round picks, albeit later in that first round. So there's some names who I think are on the fringes. Billing Dowling's another one. He's probably up against it because he doesn't have much of a contested game, so he's probably going to be a wingman or nothing. But if we move Curtin into the midfield, then there is a wing spot available. So who knows? I think obviously I'm just chucking heaps of names out there, but in addition to the ones that like the first few that came to mind for me was Hinge was the main one, and so I agree with you on that one. But I still have faith in Hinge because Hinge has actually done it, whereas a lot of these other guys I mentioned haven't put it together a whole year except for probably Pedler.
I still think that Mitch probably suffered from a change in game plan in the second half of the season that didn't really suit what he's about, and I think he might have lost his way, and plus there's some whispers on chat that he was playing injured. I also... The thing that I guess I look at is what a waste of time it was to play a bloke that you're going to delist at the end of the season, or who's going to retire at the end of the season. And, Brodie Smith playing those games ahead of a Nankervis or ahead of a Charlie Edwards or an Oscar Ryan was a real crime, in my opinion, and a real insight into the mindset of our selection and list management committees. Brodie Smith shouldn't have, and don't get me wrong, Brodie Smith didn't play badly, for the majority of that time, but it was just his time had passed. He should have been last cab off the rank for a halfback position, and instead he was first cab off the rank. And as a consequence, we had a couple of blokes untried with another 22 games of AFL experience lost. So. Hinge, I think, is under the pump. I think Zach Taylor's under the pump. Sorry, big man. I think he's going to struggle to look. And I'm with you. There's a player there for sure, but I just don't know how he fits into our side, to be honest with you. When we've got Sid Draper coming in next year, you would imagine. We've got Curtin moving into the midfield. We've got Pedler solidifying his spot in half forward and hopefully a few midfield minutes, etc., etc. I don't know where Zach fits, and I want to see what Charlie Edwards has got to offer, and I think that Zach is sitting in Charlie's spot at the moment in terms of the 23. So I think he's under pressure. I'm going to throw a left field one at you. I think Nick Murray might be under a little bit of pressure. Hasn't come back significantly well from his knee, and Keane and Geordie Butts both played well. Butts played particularly well when given the opportunity. And look, neither Butts nor Murray are terribly resilient. But if Nick doesn't have a good pre-season and presents a little bit proppy and loss of pace, etc., then he might find it difficult to push a best 22 spot. And
Yeah, I
Darcy
agree.
Fogarty's the other one for mine. I think this is a big season for Darcy Fogarty.
Yeah, now Fogg's got tons of ability, but he's got to do it consistently. He does it now and again, but he's got to give it more. But you did pick on a very good one there in Murray. He was okay, but as I thought, he got worse as the season went on. Quite frankly,
Mm.
and
Probably underdone.
Yep, and at the the club hung on to Butts. And they could have easily traded Butts, but they could have got if they chucked in a bit, they might have even been round up the trade to a first rounder for Butts, and if they chucked in a second round or something like that. But they wanted him. They wanted to keep him. So it wouldn't surprise me, if when they line up for the start of the season, Butts is back at full back with Key moving out into the pocket and Michael Annie on the other side. So that would not surprise me at all. Because Butts at the time he got injured, he was playing very good football.
Well, I think we all would have preferred Butts in the final series over Murray. I think we made that call a number of times, didn't we, big man,
Agreed.
on the podcast. And as it turns out, I think that would have been the right call. So, I'm a massive fan of Nick Murray. I love the way he crashes packs and goes hard, etc., etc. I've floated before the possibility of maybe Keane playing off a half-back or something like that to give us the opportunity to play all three of them, because I think Keane could actually be quite a good running half-back, to be honest with you, with the right coaching.
Yeah,
the only problem. Because I was going to say the problem is a good idea what Fina suggested, but that's where Worrell's playing.
Well, he's not playing running half-back, Worrell. Worrell doesn't play running half-back.
No, he's a little bit deeper. Yeah, I agree.
Correct. Big man, what were you saying?
The thing with Murray is that he started off the year okay, but then a few rounds in at training, he had a big collision. It was actually with his brother, and he hurt his knee. And then I don't think he played for a couple of weeks or a week or two. And then he came back, and then it was against Freo in the Anzac round. Just late in the game, he did a twist and he crumbled basically. And I thought, shit, he's probably done his ACL again. And he hadn't, thankfully. But that knee issue never really went away.
Didn't
throughout
look
the
like
rest
it,
of the
did it?
year. He just doesn't have that mobility, and he's never been a great ground level player. He's always had a little bit, he's been on the crane tracks at times.
Mm.
Yeah, but he got really bad in that regard. So, I think I still have obviously I have high hopes for him if he can just get a clean run at it. But absolutely, I agree. Butts should have played those final series because he was fitter and he was in better form when he did play. So I think we made a mistake there. It wouldn't have won us those finals. We got beaten.
No, of course not.
But it would. But I think in terms of what it represented, I think it was a mistake.
In terms of players that you hope will take a big leap, Macca, give me 3 names of players and 3 names only of players that you think are going to take it or that you hope will take a big leap in 2026.
Yeah, well, Sid Draper obviously comes the very first player to come to mind. He was a high pick for us. He's based on his talent and his ability. He was a little bit too light last year and this year, and he struggled a bit. But I think he's smart enough to work out, and the club's been smart enough to work out. He just needs to bulk up, and he's doing that. And even if he does that, retains his pace, and I think that I think he'll have a good year. I really do. I think he'll have a good year. I think he'll be a big improver. It sounds funny, but when you're starring on a wing, you think, well, you leave him there. Why wouldn't you just leave him there? Because if he's doing that well. Yeah, but I can see him moving into the midfield and making a real impact. Long term, he could be a Bontempelli type player. You hope for that. It might be, but it might not be. But I think whichever wherever he plays, he's going to be improved. The third one. Well, I think I'll go for Rachele. I think Rachele will. I think that he seems to be dedicated to want to be really, really, really good this year, and I mean we know he's got talent galore, and I think he will get a little bit of a run through the midfield as well. Yeah, no, they're my three.
Big man.
So just to clarify, Fina, are these players that haven't been exposed much yet that I'm excited about, or was it just
players that you think are going to take the game to another level?
Well, yeah, because is it players that need to, or players they hope to?
That you hope to.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't think it was a hard question, really.
No,
I didn't mean
to
to fool people.
I think we'd all I'm not going to use him as one of my three, but Fog would be one where I'm I really
that's cheating. That's cheating, isn't it, Macca? I'm not going to use him as one of my three, but he's just turned it into four, hasn't he?
No, but he
thinks because he's not showing his face that I'm not going to pick on him. I'll bloody pick on you. Fogarty's one of your three now. Well, you only get two left.
Okay, yeah. Well, he's someone I think we need to have a big year because obviously Tex is not going to be able to play as much or perform as well as he has, the last few years because it's his last year and Fog needs to step up. And I know he had that injury issue and he's actually still in the rehab group as we speak. But I think he's someone that we really need to get going. And I know he's had a couple of 40-goal seasons, which isn't bad by any means. But he's shown in individual games that he's more than capable of a 50, 60, even 60-plus goal season if he all puts it together. So hopefully he can give us that because he's in his prime years now. He's just turned 26, I think. So it's go time now. I think, I think the second one would probably be. Gee, this is tough. I think that I'll chuck in Soligo. He's another one we need to step up and take his game to another level because I think we all have hopes that he's going to be an A-grade mid, and he was tracking that way. But the last 2 years, he's faltered halfway through the season and dropped off. And we all talk about how he might have had OP and whatnot. But we can't just rely on Sid Draper to be the holy grail, to win us, to take us to the next level. Because I know Sid's got some attributes as well, but you need more than just one gun midfielder. And before we know it, Geordie Dawson will probably be moved to half back because he'll be in his twilight years. So we need more than one gun mid coming through. And he's probably the closest we've got until we recruit someone else. And I think he's got enough attributes as it is. He's not the quickest bloke, but he's tough, he's classy, he knows where to run it and go, and he can win stoppage. So I think that he's someone we need to have a really big year for him, potentially a best and fairest year. I think that sort of level. And the other one, that's a toughie. I'll say, let me think. I'm going to put out there. Oh boy, you know what? I'll say that I'll probably go with Nank actually because for me, Nank's someone who has been exposed somewhat, but I think he's actually got more to give. And I know there's been issues with this game in the past 12 months where he tries to do too much and takes players on and then ends up fluffing it up. But I think that's just the growth in his game. He's still learning what he can and can't do and what works for him. But the fact that he's capable of sort of dancing around three opposition players, even at AFL level, shows that he does have that class. He's got, even though he's a skinny bloke, he's got that sort of wiry body strength as well. He can defend, he can take a mark, he's courageous. His kicking went to the shitter in the second half of the year, unfortunately. He kept kicking out at the forward SAFL level, but he's a better kick than that. He's not going to be an elite kick, but he's a reasonable kick, and he's good around goals. He can defend. Like, as I said, he can play in a variety of positions. I think the key for us is actually locking down in one and for him to be comfortable with that and play a whole season. For whatever reason, Nixie never plays him in round one. He can have, even when he plays good pre-seasons, he never seems to get that round one gig. But maybe he doesn't. It is a very strange thing because, like, he had a great preseason last year, and he still couldn't get in front of Miller, who only trained after Christmas and didn't bang the door down with the trial games.
Yeah.
And I think that density is confidence. I love Drew Nixie and the coaching stuff just to back him in, because I think he's got what it takes. He's quick, he's tough, and he's got a bit of X factor, and we need as much as that as we can get. So that's my 3.
Very good. I will 100% agree with you with Jake Saligo. I think it's time now. He's served his apprenticeship. He's shown some really good patches of form. His body probably hasn't been as resilient as he would have liked, but I think he needs to make that step from a B+ midfielder to an A+ midfielder. I think he's got the attributes. He's certainly got the tenacity, and we all love him and the way he gets in around it when he's on song. He needs to be able to put a season together. I think he needs to be able to put 4 quarters together every week, build on his consistency, and become a real ball winner and distributor for us this season. The other one that I'm really looking forward to taking his game to another level, and this will surprise you, is Isaac Rankin, because I still don't think that we've seen everything that Isaac's got to give, and I reckon he'll have a rocket up his ass after what happened at the end of last season. He's had a lot to work on with regards to his midfield chops, but if he can become a better two-way player in the midfield and understand when to be defensive and when to be aggressive in the midfield, he's got amazing talent. And I would love to see him have a Brownlow year, because I think he's got it in him. And if Isaac has a Brownlow year, then that will send us a long way towards finals again in 2026. And the last one I can't wait for is Dan Curtin. I just feel like we're about to see a breakout season from the big man, and I think he's the new prototype footballer, to be honest with you, and kudos to the Adelaide recruiting staff for picking him up. Despite us not really understanding what we had at the beginning, I think that watching him progress into the midfield and watching him, he may not be a dominant force, but I think he will show some flashes in his third season with the club that will be really, really promising. So plenty of others, but they're the top 3 for me that I would really like to see take the game to a next level.
Rankin's a very good shout, Finn. I didn't even consider him, but at the same time, now I think it's pretty obvious, because as good as he's been for us, I think we'd all agree that we hope that that's not the limit of what we've seen, and that there's something else he can, something more he can do, because I think we always see the ability, and I think it's probably just a consistency thing more than anything. He's obviously had some great individual games, but backing up week and week, and also, as you mentioned, just improving his midfield craft as the more time he's had in there. I think, some people have probably given up on him, not given up on him, but have some question marks over him as a midfielder, because, we've talked about his two-way running and some of his stoppage work where he plays Russian roulette. But at the same time, he's such a great contested ball winner. If you see his contested possession percentage, it's huge for a guy that you wouldn't naturally think is such a great contested ball winner. So he's got that down pat. And he's so clean in the contest and creative. So I think it's just a matter of time with him. And I agree, just early signs are that he's that rocket's big time. He's really fired up for this year. It's a shame we won't play in that first game, but that'll probably make him even hungrier. And I think we're going to see something pretty special next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I hate to build Fina's ego up, but I think he had 3 good selections there.
It's all right, mate. I don't need it, but I'll take it from you. Yeah, I respect your opinion, so thank you very much.
No, I hate it. But there were 3 really good selections.
You've been too nice, mate.
Yeah, I guess the one that I could have also slotted in there was Rash, of course, because I think Rash is another one that could have a smashing season, given the opportunities. And my biggest hope for the year, if we round out on one Christmas wish each, My Christmas wish is that Nix pulls his head out of his arse and starts to play, these kids and these players in their proper positions instead of trying to mould them into things that they're not, and to actually show a bit of confidence in the team and not go ultra defensive next season. If we play that bullshit up and down the line crap again next season, it takes players like Rankin out of the game. And, if that happens, we will only be a fair to middling side, and we may struggle to make the 8 with a couple of good teams coming up. So my wish is that Matthew Nix puts a little bit of lubricant on that bald nut of his and slowly slides his head out of his rectum, sees the light of day, and makes some proper ballsy coaching moves next season. Macca?
Well, I just had a vision of it. It wasn't pretty. No, look, in all seriousness, you are spot on. He, in terms of the moves he makes, the positional choices he makes, I don't think he's good. He's not good. And we brought in a guy to stand alongside him, and I noticed that in the finals he was talking to him non-stop. That, he obviously didn't agree with or Nix didn't have enough bloody either thought or ideas. Nix is a puzzling coach in the sense that he's honest, he tried, but just in your back of your mind, you really think, I'm not sure he's really got it. And
I agree. Well, the jury's still out for mine, Mac. Jury is 100% still out for mine. What's your Christmas wish, mate? What's your Christmas wish?
In terms of football?
Yes, please. I don't want to know about your other wishes.
You don't. You really don't.
No.
Oh no. That's a worry.
Well, if I had one wish, it would be that Nix has had Father Christmas had come and touch him on the shoulder with a magic wand and made him into a coach.
Where that was going for a moment.
And turns him into a coach that makes Nixie the coach of the year, right? Because we're going to win and with it we win the flag.
That sounds more like a miracle than a wish. Big man, what's your wish, mate?
Yeah, I think this is probably a theme that we've talked about quite a bit throughout the entire year, to be honest. And so I think this is sort of where I'm sitting, is that I'd love to see the younger brigade of the team. And by the younger, I mean probably the 23 and unders really take ownership of the club and the team now and be given the license to do so, because they can't until the coaching staff will let them. I think we've almost lost everyone from that previous era. I know Tex is still there and Lairdy, but that Crouch is gone now. Smithy's gone now. And so I think it's time. Rachele, Curtin, Sid will in time, Max, Worrell even. There's Riley Thilthorpe. There's plenty of those guys. Some of our best players are up-and-coming players, and that's really exciting. But they have to be given the keys now to lead this club, and I think they will, because they're quite extroverted blokes, and they want to do that. So, yeah, that'd be my wish.
We've been saying it for a while, haven't we, Macca? They've got to hand the keys over, and not to Ben Keys, because he'll probably throw them down the drain or something like that, because his disposal's not that great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, I reckon we might finish it on that note. It's been a long season. There's been lots of highs and lows, a bit of a roller coaster. At one point, it looked like we were going to do the impossible and take the whole bloody thing out. And unfortunately, of course, it wasn't to be, and we crashed and burned at the pointy end. Hopefully, the club and the coaching staff have learnt. Another pre-season into the players, a few more games into their legs, and what shapes, I think, as being another fairly even season next year, with a bit of pressure coming from underneath with Sydney, the Bulldogs, and maybe St Kilda pushing up, and of course a wild card situation as well. So Macca, it's been wonderful once again to have you as my cohort on this podcast, and I know that everyone loves having you on board. So thanks again, mate, for fronting up and copying a little bit of flack and giving us the benefit of your knowledge. Thanks, mate.
Appreciate it, mate, and I enjoy it.
And big man, I think most people would agree that you've brought some sort of sanity to the podcast.
Yep.
It's extremely disappointing that I've had to put up a cartoon in place of your face all year, but I've been willing to cop that because what you've brought to the table in terms of your commentary and your opinions has been top notch. So we've really enjoyed having you on the podcast. It's really enhanced what we give to our supporters. So thanks, mate.
No, thanks, Fina and Macca. Obviously, I wish I didn't interrupt people so much during these podcasts, but it's been great. It's such a great time to chat for you blokes, and it was supposed to be just a little guest appearance on one of your pre-season podcasts, but to get the gig to join you guys every week throughout the year has been a pleasure. So really appreciate it, guys, and love talking footy with you.
Yeah, awesome.
I didn't see that, mate. I'm delighted to have you aboard. Really, you're a real plus, mate.
Thanks,
you
mate.
know,
I appreciate it, mate.
you know your stuff, and I love having you along with us. I think at times you certainly know more than I do at times.
Well, it was one of those things. It was one of those things, wasn't it, Macca, where we had me as the host, you had you as the comic relief, but we didn't have anyone that actually knew footy, so we got Big Man on board, and that sorted that out.
Well, yeah, but Fane, you and I fought him for a long time.
Oh, a long time. A long time.
Yeah, we fought him. And then you came to the show.
I got to also give a shout out to Brownie, my mate, who couldn't be on tonight. I've been at him for a long time to come on the podcast. Unfortunately, took him a little while to get going. We have some very spirited conversations on the phone, and he's sneaky smart when it comes to footy, and hopefully he'll be back as well next season. So thanks to Brownie for finally getting the agates to not only come on board but do what Big Man couldn't even do, and that's turn his bloody camera on.
He was underrated, Brownie. He's actually got a really good footy mind, and he speaks well, and so it was always good when he came on, especially later in the year when he loosened up a bit. He was good value.
And look, it's tough with a panel of four, particularly with Big Man just sort of, pretending that he can't hear the other people and just sort of talking over the top. It's hard to get a word in sometimes. So, you've all done a great job, and obviously, I hit the buttons on this podcast, but it's the sum of the parts, and this podcast wouldn't be the same without the three of you. So, thank you very much to each of you, and also thanks to everybody who has followed us during the course of the season, who've sent us a like, who's given us a subscribe on YouTube, who's listened to us on the audio platforms, and who've joined our Discord community. The community is fantastic, and just because it's not footy season, still get around it. We talk about cricket, we talk about Formula One. We hopefully will be talking some good talk later on about Formula One, and it's a really good bunch of blokes, or people I should say, because we have both males and females in there. So get around it if you haven't already on our Discord channel. The links are in the description as well. Gentlemen, let's call time on 2025. I wish you both a very good Christmas and New Year's, and we'll see you on the flippity flop.
And you want to hang around after?
Oh, yes, Macca, but, we don't need to announce that on the podcast, do we? You're such a loose cannon, mate. Oh, my God.
I am.
It's a good way to finish the cast with yet another blooper from Macca, so thanks very much. Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope you and your families all have a safe and happy Christmas and New Year's from the Crowcast crew. That's it for 2025, and we'll see you next year. Good night, all.
Yeah. Good night, all.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
God, you're a funny bugger, maker.